What are you reading? Michael looking over Lauren's shoulder as she reads through an old book. Michael leering on in intrigue, peering at Lauren's focused gaze. Lauren turning through the dingy pages. Specks of dust begin to fly from the antique book onto Michael's nose. Ah, chew! A projectile of Michael's mucus landing over the book's open pages. Lauren's eyes turn to Michael as he smiles nervously back at her. Is there anything I can help you with? Michael walking around the table to sit at the chair across from his sister. Michael looking at Lauren with hesitation but absolute conviction. Lauren, with the high stakes of this mission we are about to partake in, I just think with your ability and aptitude we will have an optimal chance at success if you look over some of the research with me. Lauren's sight reverting back to the old medical book. An awkward silence echoes throughout the empty estate library as Michael pauses and waits for a response he knows he won't get. Standing from the chair, he walks to the middle of the room. I guess more knowledge for me then. Michael smugly projecting his voice throughout the room. Dad always knew I was smarter, and with this knowledge, I will be stronger as well as faster even. Michael with his back to his sister Lauren, placing the book down outside of Michael's vision. You know, when I reach the top, maybe I will go for a Nobel Prize. The knowledge I will gain, it will be invaluable. Michael turning around with a smile on his face, looking toward Lauren, seeing if she took his bait. As he finishes his spin toward Lauren, he jumps with shock on his face. Lauren right in front of him, her intense green eyes staring daggers into Michael. Michael taking a step back, Lauren moves toward him ominously. Hey, I was just kidding. You know, I don't think I am that much smarter than you. Michael's hand up, trying to talk his sister down. Lauren still remaining silent. Lauren looking as if she is sizing Michael up, preparing for a brawl. Lauren, come on, I was messing around. Michael's back now hitting one of the bookcases, a book falling from the shelf landing on Michael's head. Lauren within reach. Michael tenses, preparing for a shot to the face like when they were children every time Michael would say something dumb. Michael turning his head, preparing for the slug. Lauren's hand reaches past him. Michael's eyes opening her arms, passing him with a book in hand. I need this for the test tomorrow. Lauren now walking back to the table with the reading material in hand. Michael less tense, he reaches for the book on the floor and places it back on the shelf. Walking, following Lauren. Michael pleads his case. I'm sorry, as Lauren sits back down to resume her studies. Michael sitting back next to her, he continues, I was just trying to get you hyped. Joseph is really good at that kind of thing. You are not, Lauren replies, opening the new book, pointing at the pages in order to find the spot she needs. I know Michael's head slumped down, disappointed at his failed attempt. Lauren looking up at her brother notices his melancholy expression. Lauren reaching her hand out to Michael's hand to comfort him. Lauren staring at Michael with slight embarrassment at his attempt. Lauren trying to lock eyes with Michael by adjusting his face to lock eyes with hers. Hey, do you remember the exercises we used to do after your surgeries? Michael looking toward Lauren, nodding his head. Of course, those were fun times. You know, as you were building your strength, we would have competitions that would not only test our bodies, but our minds in certain subjects. Yes, Dad would call them neuralthons. Even in physical fitness, Dad would emphasize that the mind was important. The two smiling as they reminisce about the activities they would partake in as children. Why are you bringing this up? Michael's smile dissipating as he tries to understand where Lauren is going with the trip down memory lane. Michael, trying to figure out her motives, looks confused at his crafty sister. One of the biggest trials, we were told, is that pressure is one of the biggest enemies of a doctor, especially a surgeon. I have heard that, yes, Michael acknowledging the statement presented. We can attach this concept to many things in life. I agree, Michael, intrigued by her words. To make this conversation short, how about we make a little wager? What do you have in mind, Mike's interest being piqued? I suggest that we do a neuralthon. Michael wide-eyed, in wonderment that his mature sister would bring up an action such as this. What's the parameters? Michael asking, interested and with excitement. If I win, you respect my hustle and shut up about the alchemy stuff for a couple months? Michael awkwardly staring at Lauren. And if I win, I might consider putting an alchemy book in my collection. Michael jumping in excitement, you got it, deal. The two fist bump in agreement. Meet me in the training room at 5 p.m. Our competition will begin then. Michael, excited at the prospect of Lauren being an ally in the field of alchemy, excites him. He dances with glee. Lauren preparing to leave the library with books in hand. Lauren reaches the door grinning mischievously as she looks back at him. Michael's happy face turned to that of worry. After hours, Michael appearing in the Westbrook Estates home training room, now in his workout gear. He stands in the middle of the home gym, awaiting Lauren's near late arrival. Michael accompanied by Joseph and Rowan, the two brothers looking over at Michael with suspicion. "Mike, what have you done now?" Joseph glaring daggers at Michael. Michael looking back at his brother. "What do you mean, what did I do?" Michael responding to Joseph's blatant accusation. Rowan chiming in, "Lauren only does these types of things when you put your foot in your mouth, and she feels as if she has to put you in your place." Michael brushing of his brother's accusatory tones. "I for one am offended. How do you know that this isn't just a friendly battle of wits between siblings?" Rowan and Joseph staring at one another, then back at Michael, not buying a single word coming from his mouth. "Okay." Michael giving in to the pressure. "I may have alluded that with the mission drawing near it, may benefit the team and her career if she joined me in learning alchemy." Rowan and Joseph palming their head as they try to quantify how much Michael is in trouble. Rowan smirking as he and Joseph try to give advice to Michael. "If you apologize, maybe she will go easy on you." Guys, Lauren is a genius, everyone knows this. What is wrong with lighting a fire that can put her to the next level? Michael trying to explain himself. You know how Lauren feels about people in that field. Yeah. She views them as pompous, short-sighted Icarus allegories, but who has she met that is like that? Rowan shrugging to Joseph while he shakes his head in silent agreement. Michael looking at his brother's mutual agreement. "What?" as he looks on confused. "It's okay, guys, it's just competition with two of the world's greatest minds." Lauren walks in the room with a large chess on wheels pushed by Mrs. Tammy donning a nurse's outfit. The three brothers looking on the spectacle. "Lauren, what is going on?" Michael trying to get an understanding the situation. Lauren pulling the chess in the middle of the combat mat within the training room. Mrs. Tammy lifts the lid on the chess. Inside are a pile of lifelike dummies stacked on one another. Michael looking scared at what he sees. Are those bodies? Michael looks on in terror. Rowan leaning in, "I don't know if we will be able to save you here. Today's test and bet is called Operation First Responder. As someone in our field faces natural disasters, terror attacks, and periods of mass hysteria, there are a group of people that will bear the chaos of these scenes. As the first responder penetrates panicking crowds, there is a time frame that must be followed in case loss of patient. This is one of the things we might face as we hit the streets of Viper City. Precision, quickness, and a need to protect is our purpose. So someone has been listening to my breakdowns." Michael and Rowan looking away in guilt, as Lauren smirks in a response to Joseph. "Of course it is very necessary." "Okay, what does that have to do here?" "Well, as the team's doctor, I need to be able to shoulder all things mentioned while still being able to keep myself safe and those around me. Certain advantages I have, I will be the perfect person for this job. Now, to our wager." As Lauren speaks, she has Rowan and Joseph place 3 mannequins around the room on gurneys, plus a 4th at the end of the room. My goal is to reach and care for each mannequin by finding an injury placed by my assistant, Mrs. Tammy and Rowan. "What do I need to do?" Michael looking exhausted from the explanation. "All you have to do is serve as a distraction. You have to keep me from reaching the patient on the gurney. Until I get to the final one at the end of the room. Plus, we have to do it within a time restraint as the final patient's life could be in danger. Also, Mrs. Tammy has dinner in the oven and it's on timer before it burns." "All right, sis, your parameters are reasonable. Are you ready?" "Most definitely, little brother, let's get this started." Michael prepping to take his position, Lauren intercepting Michael before he reaches his post. "I think you may need this," Mrs. Tammy handing Michael his mask as he looks confused. "What will I need this for?" Lauren getting serious as her green eyes turn luminescent. "Well, bro, let's go." Michael secures his mask now, taking his stance. "Let's do this," an intensity coming over Michael's voice. Mrs. Tammy yelling for position, all dolls in place, Joseph and Rowan giving a big thumbs up. Clock set 5 minutes, Rowan checking the time, check. "At my mark, you have until the chicken is done, and to diagnose the patient." "Ready, set, go." Lauren running toward the first doll, Michael lunging forward, reaching out to grab her arm. Lauren perceiving Michael's blinding speed, she jukes to the side and sprints forward. Michael, not even touching her, is shocked that she was able to react to his speed, looking back at Lauren as she reaches the first mannequin. Wow, that crowd was heavy and very grabby. I almost didn't make it to you. It seems this patient has a light sprain in the ankle. We will treat this by adding pressure through bandages, an ice pack, and keeping the foot elevated for 1 week. First, we will do a slight x-ray just in case. Come on, guys. This one was easy. Michael still in shock by the maneuver as he looks on through his mask. Keep up, Michael. I am going for patient 2. Michael regaining himself. Lauren sprinting toward mannequin 2. Okay, let's turn this up a notch. Michael looking to his watch as to speaking a command into the device. Integrate bioenhancement with neural peripheral. Examining Lauren's movements. Michael closes the gap this time, reaching her. Reaching out toward Lauren again. As Michael grabs her arm, Lauren immediately grabs Michael's hand and gives him a shoulder throw. Flying across the room, Michael lands on his backside. Rubbing his rear, he looks on as Lauren reached the second dummy. Although we take an oath to do no harm, sometimes a little force is necessary to get what you need. This patient has a gash on her head. The injury could be indicative to a strike to the head or an abrupt fall. Treat the wound on the head and do tests for any severe damages, then adjust accordingly. Lauren stands up. That was a little better, but keep them coming. Lauren looks over to Michael. Come on, mix it up. Aggressive is a good one, but what else do you got? Michael staring back with a playful snarl. Okay, prepare yourself. I am about to lay down the pressure. Mrs. Tammy calling the time. 3 minutes left on the clock. Doctor, you have a patient still waiting at the ambulance, and you still have 2 waiting in the field. If you don't want a dry chicken, you might want to wrap this up. Sorry, Mrs. Tammy, as the siblings give a response in unison. Heading towards the third dummy, the clock ticks down. Lauren makes a dash toward the third dummy. Michael shoots forward in a greater speed. His hand reaches out. Try something different, you can't stop me that way. Bet. Michael's voice echoing through the mask. Michael reaches through his pocket to pull out a small device from his pocket. Michael pressed a disc-shaped contraption. Lauren preparing for a counter-move, a light emits from the tool shining in Lauren's eyes. Lauren putting her hand up to block the blinding beam. Michael charging forward and knocking Lauren back. Hey, there are tons of distractions that hit a responder. Lauren shocked at the move. Rowan and Joseph staring on shocked, impressed at the move that was just made. All those flashing lights and loud noises can really disorient you. An emerald gleam in her eyes intensifying as she begins to feel the heat of the moment taking over. You are right, a serious expression now plastered on her face. I have some people in need, so if you will excuse me. Lauren rushes past Michael with her own speed booming, dashing toward the dummy with conviction. Michael running beside her, shining the light in her eyes, continuously disorienting her, and Michael giving another charge. Lauren reacting to the bump before it can reach her. Those crowds are hectic, and those ambulance and cop car lights can be disorienting. 2.5 minutes left, think of the patients and the chicken. Michael now gaining a little confidence. Well, I better tune my focus, there are lives to save. Lauren rebuttals. Lauren racing toward dummy 3. Michael pulling the flashing device again. Lauren with anticipation preemptively pulls her doctor's jacket off, tossing it over Michael's head to block the light. Sticking her foot out, Michael trips forward, falling comedically on his face, his body now tangled into the jacket. Lauren making it to the dummy. Lauren leaning over, she quickly begins to diagnose the issue. The injured seems to be holding their arm. The injured seems to have heavy bruising, and joints seem to be unaligned. Patient has a shoulder dislocation. Can't perform any treatment in the street. I will relieve patient's pain by keeping their mind busy, suggest an ice pack when available, and position the patient in a comfortable position. Help is now here. Michael, untangling himself from Lauren's coat, hops up to catch his sister as she heads to her final post. 1 minute and 15 seconds, Mrs. Tammy yells to the 2 competing siblings. Lauren rushing toward her final goal. Nearing the goal, she comes to abrupt halt. Michael reaching Lauren with a sudden burst of speed. Michael stands in front. Oh sis, the crowd is blocking you from your patient. Is the hysteria going to take over? Not in a million years. So if you would excuse me, I have a patient to treat. Come and get him, Michael, removing his shirt, the nodes on his back glowing bright as his watch reads the setting gunshot mode. Lauren, her eyes widening, the green of her irises become brighter, the veins bulging from her body. As the two stare each other down, the faint sound of a chaotic disaster rings around them. Civilians are panicking, running as they run past them. Mrs. Tammy yelling 45 seconds, "My chicken, let's go!" Lauren dashes forward. Michael charges her. Lauren dodges with a swift step of her own. Michael taking the light device and flips a switch. The device, creating numerous slots around the device light, ejects from the many slots. Lauren reacting to the light, but now her body tuned to a new frequency of movement. Lauren pushes forward, passing her brother. Michael seeing the play, he enacts his final play. Michael throws a device down. A loud sound of wails and holler echoes from the device. "Help, please," blasts in the air, hitting Lauren's ear. Lauren coming to an abrupt stop, she hears the loud yells of the voices in her ear. A brief look of doubt coming across her face, looking around for another doll to help. Joseph looking on, seeing the uncertainty visible on Lauren's face. "Support is here." "New responders are on the field," Lauren snapping out of a daze. "All available responders check the injured and escort who you can to the nearest safe point." Those words racing toward her last spot, 15 seconds remaining. Michael, noticing the dash, rushes to catch his sister, as Michael attempting one last distraction. He reaches out to Lauren, now inches away, Lauren gaining closer and closer. Michael begins to find himself tipping over. Looking down, Michael find one foot tripping the other. Michael's jaw dropping, the next thing he can perceive is his face hitting the floor. The next sight Michael sees as his head looks up is Lauren reaching her mark. This patient seems to have a gunshot wound. Looking for an exit wound, there seems to be one on the other end. We must get the wound clean and closed as soon as possible. Provide pressure to wound to mitigate bleeding. Let's get him to the hospital to give a few stitches, bandages, and easing on the heavy lifting. The patient, if injuries aren't too bad, they should be fine in a couple weeks. Let's get this person checked in, and let's get back to work. "Time!" Mrs. Tammy yelling, as Lauren stands up from her final pseudo-patient. Michael brushing off as Rowan, Joseph, and Mrs. Tammy approach Lauren after her victory. Michael standing as he joins the group in congratulations. "Okay guys, an agreement came to this bet. I hope it can be agreed to. Also, at the end we are still family, and we are going to hug it out." Joseph quelling the situation. "No problems at all. I'm sorry, I just feel the great things you can do if you joined me." Michael humbly explaining himself. "Apology accepted, and maybe we can have a reasonable conversation 2 months from now." Lauren walking from the room. "That was a crazy neuralthon." Rowan giving a sigh. I am sure Lauren appreciated the last-minute assist. Michael side-eyeing his brother. Joseph giving a grin. "There was none needed, she will do well. Lauren is capable." I know Michael submitting the topic for the moment, but what she can be would be amazing. You all are good kids. As long as you keep this energy, you will be fine. Thanks, Mrs. Tammy, as they begin hugging their loving housekeeper. The kitchen is smoking, Lauren peeking her head back in the training room. Mrs. Tammy rushing out of the room frantically. Joseph along with the rest of the family. "Come on, guys, let's see if we can save dinner."